Without the thinking, what is there left? There was a very interesting question someone sent over uh, maybe a few days ago, and they asked, if I remember correctly, is there anything beyond the mind? I thought that was a wonderful question because it points to a certain sense of awareness deepening. And going about that, asking yourself that question already implies that some kind of seeking is happening, some kind of awareness is trying to flourish, if you will. Because without the thinking, what is there left? Without the thought process, the mental, emotional process that happens within you, what is beyond that is what they're asking ultimately. And that's a very deep question because not many people have considered asking themselves that question because the fear of not knowing. If I go that far, I may disappear. If I go that deep into my consciousness, my soul may leave the body. Who knows why people don't ask these kind of questions? But ultimately, yes, that's one of the main focuses here on what we talk about here is going beyond the thought process, going beyond the mental, emotional fluctuations. So in order to ask that question, you have to look within yourself. You have to see for yourself, is there anything beyond the mind? Maybe ask that question and just be still within yourself. See what comes up. Because a certain state of consciousness will arise. I've been there where I ask myself a question and then I shift my attention from the thought to just breathing or just being. Ultimately, you will see that there is only space, awareness, presence, the essence of who you are, ultimately. So anything I say here can be contradicting if you do not look for it within yourself. Because that's ultimately a question you can answer yourself if you look within yourself. And ultimately not look for an answer like, oh yes, there's this or that. Because the question is pointing to deepening your state of being. So that's why I do say that is a wonderful question to ask, because ultimately you're looking to go beyond that continuous thinking and thought process and emotional structure. That is a good tool. It's good to have and use, but ultimately you don't only want to depend on that, because when the mind says certain things about certain situations, it's not always the best thing. So going beyond that, for example, something happens a little bit crazy, or someone comes up, it has happened, and they, are ramped up, their mind is racing and going on. Will you want to be able to be at ease, or will you want to get pulled along by your stream of thinking that interacts or gets transmitted from their thinking into your thinking, and then you have all that, you have their thinking, your thinking, and or would you rather be able to just be with them while they're expressing their, ultimately, their state of consciousness, and you being able to be at ease and in acceptance, a deep acceptance to what is happening there. Still being able to do what you need to do, but at the same time, being able to allow, accept, appreciate even. So, going a little bit further into the question here is, where should you reside? Should your conscious awareness reside in the mind continuously, all day, with every situation, every occurrence, mind, mind, mind? Or can you just, some things happen, can you just look without thought, without emotion? Can you step out of the stream of thinking into the body, the inner energy field of the body, take a few conscious breaths, and just be? Because that's your answer. If you can ultimately step out of the stream of thinking, allow your consciousness to remain in a state of presence where the thought has almost completely stopped but significantly slowed down, and just look. That is ultimately going beyond the mind. That is ultimately answering the question, is there anything beyond the mind? Yes. Space, conscious awareness, presence, looking, acceptance. All of those fall in that realm of beyond the mind, because the mind wants to conclude on something, and that's not going beyond the mind. That's identifying with the thought that comes into the mind, ultimately. Thank you for joining me.